Yes, the only person ever to have been hanged in Israel was Adolf Eichmann. Do you think that in this case Israel was seeking justice with Demjanjuk, or do you think it was just another Nazi show trial?
Maybe both at the beginning, but when they found out that there is a mistake, instead of admitting the mistake and ask forgiveness from all those who were hurt and injured because of this mistake, they choose to proceed with this farce.
Why do you think Israel decided to proceed?
Because they could not and were not able to admit the mistake. Our legal establishment. And I, as one of the reasons, as I state in my book, took the case in order to take on our legal establishment, which I'm sick and tired of it, already 20 years ago.
You did write in your book, The Demjanjuk Affair, The Rise and Fall of a Show Trial, that the Israeli judicial system is an oxymoron.
Yes, but I must say that, look, I'm an Israeli and I perform in Israeli courts. But I don't think that our legal justice system is worse even in 1 inch than in other Western democracy legal system. On the contrary, I don't think in the US, whatever happens, even with the new evidence, American, or someone that will be accused of killing 900,000 Americans in gas chambers, even with the evidence of Demjanjuk, will not be acquitted, and the same will not happen in England, and not in France, and not in any country in the world. In the end of the day, with all my harsh criticism of our legal establishment, I think it's the only court of law in the world that would acquit Demjanjuk.
Did the Demjanjuk trial change the Israeli system in any way?
Not at all. It didn't leave any doubt whatsoever, and it's horrible. After the Demjanjuk case, they promoted, after Demjanjuk was acquitted, they took 2 of the judges, they sent them to the gallows, and promoted them to the Supreme Court.
How did you win the case? Was it based on a technicality?
Not at all. I think never a conviction in a major trial in the 20th century was crushed so in such a totality as the new evidence which we produced, which consists of 80 statements, 80 statements in real time from 1944 till 1955 of 37 Wachmanns of Treblinka, interviewed and interrogated by the Soviet Union. All of them pointed at Ivan Marchenko as one of the 2 operators of the gas chamber. We have a picture of him, we have his Nazi ID card, and there is no resemblance, not in the way they look, not in their age, not in their personal status, not in the place they lived. It's totally 2 different individuals which had nothing to do one with the other.
Who do you think is Ivan the Terrible? Marchenko?
We know exactly, not only we know exactly who is Ivan the Terrible, we know exactly where to look for him. Because with the evidence I produced, there was one testimony of Treblinka Wachmann which saw Ivan the Terrible in north of Italy, north of Yugoslavia, the border of Italy and Yugoslavia, north, in April 1945, saying he has no intention whatsoever to go back to the Soviet Union. He had a partisan, ex-partisan girlfriend, Yugoslavian, and he planned to settle in one of the villages around the city of Fiume. And since we produced this evidence, no one tried to look for him there.
But that seems absurd.
You know why? Because as long as we don't have the blood and flesh, or even the body or the bones of Ivan the Terrible, people can say, yes, it's technicalities and so on, and actually Demjanjuk is Ivan the Terrible. Once you find Ivan Marchenko even dead, you cannot say so anymore. Therefore, no one looks for him.
So who do you think Demjanjuk is?
I don't know, as I'm sure 100% that he is not even the terrible, and I'm sure 100% that there is no credible evidence to prove any crime connected with the Holocaust against him. I was not with him during the war, and maybe there is somewhere evidence that can prove something against him. Not the evidence that exists. The evidence that exists, the Israeli Supreme Court ruled that it is not credible and it cannot guarantee conviction on prosecuting on any charge connected to the Holocaust.
He's now being tried in Germany. If he is found guilty of being a guard and killing Jews, even if he's not Ivan the Terrible, will that be something that's difficult for you to come to terms with?
Not at all, because I know for fact that nothing changed, definitely not substantially, in the evidence existed against Demjanjuk when, after his acquittal, his fate was delivered again by our Supreme Court and by our General Attorney, and now. Nothing happened in between, or at all, or definitely substantially, as far as evidence is concerned. Therefore, exactly as the Israeli District Court sent Demjanjuk to the gallows as being even the terrible in the theater hall that the case was conducted, I will not be at all impressed due to a decision of a German court, knowing the evidence myself, that is a Wachmann from Sobibor or whatever.
Yoram Sheftel, thank you very much for joining us here on RT.
Thank you.